Have you ever asked yourself, I just need closure? That once they or someone's explain, I'll finally move on. If you've been waiting for someone else to give you closure, maybe it's time to stop waiting, and start living. Closure. Closure may vary from person to person. However, closure ultimately is an understanding and acceptance that a relationship has ended and often includes a rationale for why it ended, explained by Dr. Beth Rybarski, professor of interpersonal communication with expertise in romantic relationships. The illusion of closure. Imagine a dimly lit room. A young woman, Becky, sits cross-legged on the floor. In front of her, a small box filled with old photographs, movie tickets, and love notes from someone who once meant everything to her. Her phone is right beside her, screen lighting up every few minutes, though never with the message she desperately wants. Becky whispered to herself. If he'd just tell me why, if he'd just give me one last goodbye. Then maybe I could move on. She isn't alone in this thought. For decades, movies, books, and even well-meaning friends have sold us the idea that closure is the final key to unlocking healing. That one conversation, one apology, one explanation will suddenly silence the pain inside. But psychology paints a very different picture. The truth? What she's longing for is not closure, it's control. She's hoping for an external answer that will fix an internal wound. And until she's realized this, she'll stay trapped, waiting for something she may never receive. The next morning, Becky stared blankly at her coffee cup, mind replaying the last fight she had with her ex. If only he told me what I did wrong, maybe I could forgive myself. Maybe I could finally move on. This is the mental loop of waiting. Our brain confuses certainty with relief. We think if we had all the missing puzzle pieces, the ache would vanish. But the truth? The brain's craving for answers often keeps us locked in the past. Becky's friend James is proof of this. Even months after his breakup, he still checks his ex's social media every single day. He convinced himself that one day she'll post something that explained why she left. He believed the right sentence will finally free him. But both Becky and James are stuck in the same cycle, tying their healing to someone else's decision. And here's the harsh reality, sometimes, the answers never come. Sometimes, the people who hurt us can't or won't explain why. If we keep waiting, healing gets delayed, indefinitely. The myth exposed. One rainy evening, Becky sat across from her therapist, tears streaming down her face. I just need him to explain. I need him to tell me why. Otherwise, I'll never feel at peace. Her therapist looks at her gently and asked a simple but piercing question. What if the closure you're waiting for never comes? Would you stay stuck forever? The silence in the room feels heavy. For the first time, Becky realized the trap she's in. Psychology revealed a profound truth: closure is not something others give us, it's something we create for ourselves. It isn't about an apology. It isn't about the other person admitting their mistakes. True closure comes when we stop waiting for them to finish the story, and we decided to finish it by ourselves. That moment was Becky's turning point. She began to see that the myth of closure has chained her healing to someone else's choice. The power of self-closure. Days later, Becky sat at her desk, a blank sheet of paper before her. She picked up her pen and began to write. Not a letter to send, but a letter to release. She poured out every unspoken words, the anger, the grief, the questions, and even the love that still lingered. By the time she finished, her hands trembled, but her heart felt lighter. Her therapist guided her further. Closure isn't about getting answers. It's about accepting that some answers may never come, and choosing peace anyway. Becky began to practice self-closure in small ways. She sets boundaries with her thoughts, choosing not to stalk her ex online. She focused on activities that brings joy to herself. She'd forgiven herself for not having all the answers. Slowly, she started to see that healing isn't about tying every loose end. It's about choosing to walk forward even if the knots remain. In a powerful moment of symbolism, Becky closed the photo box, not because she got the apology she wanted, but because she decided the waiting ended with her. Freedom without closure. Months passed, Becky's laughter now echoed in cafes with friends. She's present again, no longer chained to her phone, no longer checking for that one last text. One night, she walked by the park where she and her ex used to spend hours together. For a moment, memories surfaced. But this time, they don't sting. She smiled, not because she got the closure she once begged for, but because she no longer needs it. The biggest myth has been shattered: closure is not external. It doesn't come wrapped in apologies or explanations. The truth is that you don't actually need closure to move on. You only need the courage to stop waiting, to rewrite the story yourself, and to step into new life again. Becky's journey is a mirror to many of us. How often have we postponed our healing, telling ourselves, "I'll feel better once they explain, once they apologize, once they give me closure." But here's the secret: closure is not something you wait for. It's something you create. So let me ask you, who are you still waiting on for closure? Because maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop waiting, and start living.